Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us here at Crow for another segment of Wildlife Wednesday. My name's Rachel, and today I'm going to be meeting Breanna F, Crow's rehabilitation manager, down at the hospital to talk about an interesting case that came in later last week.
Hi everybody, and thanks for joining us. My name's Bree and I am the rehab manager here at Crow Clinic for the Rehabilitation of Wildlife. We are here today to discuss a very interesting case that we had recently. On Friday, October 2nd, a great blue heron presented from Fort Myers Beach. He was very lucky to have been found because he came in covered in oil. For us to see an oil case is pretty rare. We typically only get a couple every single year, and there are different types of oil that these animals present with. This one happened to be presenting after being found near a place that was dredging, so this could be oil caused by dredging. There's also food oil, which a lot of restaurants will put outside after it's been used, and there's a lot of animals that happen to get into that. There's also oil used on commercial fishing boats, like shrimp boats, and we have lots of birds that have just so happen to get stuck in the oil that comes off their boats as well. When these birds present, we see lots of issues that are associated with the oil. Now, depending on the situation, you can see burns that are caused by the chemical composition of the oil. We can also see a lot of damage to the feathers itself. So, in this case, this bird came in very soon after it happened. The oil hadn't started to dry, it hadn't matted the feathers. We were able to start a wash process to prevent feather damage, but in certain cases, those feathers can almost burn right off because of the oil. Now, if we can't fix those feathers, that bird will lose its ability to fly, it will lose its ability to maintain waterproofing, which is very important for all of our ocean birds, our shorebird species, and much more that has to do with the feather quality. Even to the point where if they can't waterproof appropriately, these birds, when they go to hunt, they could actually become waterlogged and drown. So what do we do for these oiled birds? Well, luckily for us, Dawn dish soap happens to take care of most of the issue. Now, Dawn works amazingly well at getting oil off of our oiled animals, as well as your cookingware at home. So typically in situations like this, we go through a wash process. Now, this includes multiple different baths in various solutions of water mixed with Dawn dish soap. Each solution will have a little bit less Dawn dish soap than the previous bath until we get to the point where we are just rinsing them in water. Following the bathing process, just like when you shampoo and condition your hair, you do rinse it out. So following the rinse process, we will go through with our warm water. We will wash off all the feathers to make sure there's no soap left over on them, and we'll start to see what's called beading. So as those feathers lose the bad oils, they will gain back some of their natural properties of being waterproofed. So as we rinse them, we start to see little water droplets of beads form and roll right off those feathers, which shows us that those feathers are getting back to normal. Now, during this process, it can be very stressful for the animals. So we make sure their eyes are always covered. We make sure there's minimal talking around the area where it's happening. We make sure that that animal is healthy enough to withstand the wash process and survive. Otherwise, we might have to put it off a few days to make sure that they are strong enough to get through it. An additional problem that we can see when it comes to oiled birds is the fact that they may have ingested it. Now, that can do a lot of damage to their internal organs. Imagine what would happen if we ingested oil like that. It would definitely cause damage to our internal organs, and if they so happen to be struggling as they swallowed it, they could have aspirated it right into their lungs, which would most likely lead to death. Now, this bird did present with a bunch of oil in its mouth. It actually caked on within the beak, and we've been peeling it off day after day and trying to clean it to the best of our abilities, but it is really stuck in there. So we do have some concerns for this bird that it may have ingested some oil. After we finish the wash and rinse process, we will go ahead and we'll dry the bird. Now, in certain circumstances, we will go ahead and place a bear hugger or even a hair dryer on the animal to make sure that they're drying appropriately. Now, last week when this bird came in, there was a cold front coming through, so it was only about 70 degrees outside, which was much too cold for the animal to be outside completely soaking wet all the way down to the skin. So we put a surgical bear hugger on the animal to allow warm water to go through the enclosure and warm the bird back up as it was drying. This is a very important step for the animal because we just put them through a significant portion of a stress-inducing wash. Now, following that, there are birds that can go into shock, so making sure that they are warm enough to regulate their body temperature following these occurrences is very important. Now, for this bird, After we see how the feathers look when they're dry, we can determine, does this animal require further washes? So this bird, this great blue heron, has been through 3 separate washes since it came in. It came in on Friday, it got its first wash Friday afternoon, it repeated the wash process on Sunday, and here we are Tuesday and we've done another one. So if it does require another wash, hopefully it doesn't, it won't be for another 2 days or so. Hopefully at that point we can determine, is this animal's feather quality good enough for release at this point, or will it require a further wash to gain back all of the waterproofing capabilities the feathers require. If all the waterproofing is there and the bird looks healthy, its physical checks out with all great diagnostic reports, it will be cleared to go back out to the wild and hopefully either continue on its migration route or go back to whatever it's been doing hanging around.
Thanks so much, Bree, for sharing all of that wonderful information about how we treat oil cases. If you are interested in learning more about this case, continue to follow us on social media for updates. And if you are interested in supporting Crow on a further level, click on the donation button above. Have a good day.